Agreed. Especially if you're not having any wiggle room on it. You're just like all the same ones. Like you can see them dying.
Right.
And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Thursday, May 18th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by BetMGM. Game 2, Nuggets, Lakers, the real MVP against the real GOAT of the NBA. It's an incredible battle that we should be ready for. I hope that lights chat on fire right out of the gate. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are below our bodies. Adam, what's up?
So, man, glad that we are talking about the fun set of games.
You and me both. Although, I don't know. At this rate, Jimmy Butler is going to be the most popular basketball player ever if he just runs through these next two series and does it all. Then again, they're still massive underdogs to even win the series that they're in. But that's neither here nor there. I am excited to watch this one. It should be fun. I have a feeling that this game is not going to be as exciting as the first one, though. I think this is going to turn into a little bit more of a slog, unfortunately.
Yeah, seems likely.
But still watching it. Still want to watch the real MVP do his business for today. Go out there, drop his, because he's what, 50-50 for a triple-double today? I mean, the odds on this kind of stuff right now are insane. And it's fully warranted, too. Like, it's not like Jokic is running hot. He's just always incredible. Love to see it.
Yes, he is.
So I want to start with a question for you that isn't all that, it's not, well, it's sort of slate specific, but we're not talking about any individual plays here. We see it a lot in the playoffs. It's very relevant right now. That's interesting ownership projection, but that's neither here nor there. What is your thought process on punt plays for Showdown? Guys that these 1K guys that are likely zeros, but in all actuality in the playoffs, probably a little bit more valuable than they would be in the regular season. Do you approach things differently? How do you manage like which one you would want? What's the difference between a 0-minute projection Malik Beasley versus a 0-minute projection Wenyen Gabriel type stuff? Have you thought about that at all?
A little bit, mostly because I saw that we have DeAndre Jordan projected for nearly 20% ownership.
Yeah, that was what I was referring to. That's like it's wrong, but it needs to be represented somewhere.
Right. Like, for one, I would, if I'm going that route, want to be playing somebody that I think has a chance at minutes and isn't 20% owned with a 0-point projection. Like, could DeAndre Jordan somehow get on the floor? I guess, but doesn't even seem like the most likely.
No, agreed.
Of those guys. But certainly, like, if you're just saying, well, this guy is in the next set of players where if there's some weird rotation change, he could step up, so you are talking about the DeAndre Jordan, Malik Beasley, Troy Brown, like guys like that. Yeah. I would want ones that aren't projected to get any ownership, but also I don't believe that DeAndre Jordan is actually like going to pull it all.
I think he's sort of a placeholder for the aggregate
right.
of those types of guys. I don't think you're going to see any individual more than 3-4%. That's $1,000.
Right, exactly. Like,
but there'll be a couple of them.
Right, like no ownership projection to Beasley, no ownership projection to Najee, no ownership projection to, Brown, to, Bryant, any of these guys. They're not going to all be zero while Jordan is 18.5. You're probably just going to get like 18.5 spread across these random dudes.
Right. I'm going to pull up the CSV from game 1 just as a reference point. There was something I wanted to touch on because I've been playing a lot of these guys because in the playoffs, it's different. You're really concentrating your playing time on the upper echelon of salary, and you're starting to open it back up. By the way, I do think that when we get to the playoffs, that DraftKings needs to make a tweak so that this isn't as viable and as likely as it normally is, but neither here nor there. So
taking a zero, you mean?
Yeah. Like, I'd like to remove that as much as possible and make it and minimize it. So we had 8% ownership going to Troy Brown in game 1. He was not the flat min, but he was, in that ballpark. Beasley got 5.5, which might have been all me. I know most of the day everybody was jerking themselves off to Tristan Thompson. He got up to 4% owned in the contest, 2 days ago. So for Brown, Beasley, Thompson, that got you 17.5. If you add in Jackson, Gabriel, Peyton Watson, Thomas Bryant, we're getting to that 20, 21 range that we're seeing for DeAndre Jordan. So for anybody that's looking at the ownership for us, sort of use that as a placeholder in your mind for this is a $1,000 guy that I am using that is likely to be a zero, but is still freeing you up to be the optimal lineup 2 nights ago for this series had a flat zero in it. So that is viable. How do you want to approach it for multiple guys? Do you just want to buy into one, or do you want it to I don't mean do you want it to be DeAndre Jordan, but do you just want to say all right, my 1K guy today is Malik Beasley, or my 1K guy is Peyton Watson, or do you want to differentiate through them as well?
I think I would lean towards, it probably depends how many lineups you're playing. If I'm playing 3 lineups, so I think there's 2 approaches. One, if you just have what you think is you have a lineup that you just want to basically play 3 times and then throw 3 darts at zeros, then obviously pick 3 different ones. But assuming you're playing, different versions of lineups, if you're playing 3, I probably, assuming they're different lineups, otherwise would want to just say all right, this is the guy I think is the most likely to somehow get on the floor. If you're playing 150 lineups, then you should be mixing through those guys.
Okay. So that would be Peyton Watson, Reggie Jackson. Those are those types of guys for Denver that have gotten in their past 2 games, whatever the bench mob looks like in a blowout. Beasley feels like a really likely one for the Lakers. You would assume that he would get on the floor for anything like that. Tristan Thompson did get out there for 3.5 minutes a while back. We'll see how much that kind of stuff matters, but I just didn't know, I know that it's something that we probably haven't really talked about much on a show. I think it's much more viable in this series too than it is in the Miami-Boston series. But
yeah, I mean, Miami-Boston, you don't have LeBron and Davis and Jokic.
Yeah, exactly. It's slightly different, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to get that out there, and just in case anybody is looking at the 20% ownership for DeAndre Jordan, don't just immediately think, well, DeAndre Jordan's is 20% owned. That's ridiculous or whatever. Just think of that as an aggregate of 1K guys, because they need to be played. I mean, 1/5 of the lineups are going to have that 1K punt dude in them, something in that neighborhood. Make sure you're aware of that, everybody. Don't think that is some sort of bad play or something along those lines. This is very necessary. Just wanted to put it out there. You want to talk about the slate for today?
Yeah.
Let's talk some Lakers. We'll start at the top with sort of the bigger decision point. Do you prefer Anthony Davis, 11,600, or LeBron James, 11,200? I almost listed their positions. I did that on my contenders video this morning, and I felt stupid when I did it.
Yeah, as you should have. I think I just deleted my entire spreadsheet. Oh, never mind. Okay. I think I still lean Davis. That's pretty much where I've leaned most of the postseason.
Same. I've got a bit of a lean to AD as well. I've got him projected better than LeBron. They are basically the same ownership for right now, but I find AD to be a bit more appealing. Is that just a per minute thing, or where do you see these guys for playing time today?
Yeah, I think it's mostly a per minute thing. I expect similar playing time. You got 42 minutes from Davis last game. You got 40 from LeBron. I expect that to be pretty similar. I just think Davis is a little bit better point per minute guy.
Okay. When you see the ownership for both of those dudes, we've got AD about 15% at the captain, LeBron at 12, similar spread at utility, 40 and 33. How does that feel to you? Seems about right. I don't have much to quibble with. I'm right around the field on AD. I am a little bit lighter on LeBron. I usually am lighter on LeBron anyway, so I'm not surprised by that. But I don't have a lot of takeaways there. I think that most of that ownership looks correct.
Yeah, no, that's how I see it as well. Davis coming in slightly ahead of LeBron, both obviously very popular, and they should be both coming in behind Jokic as they should. But yeah, it seems pretty much correct to me. Maybe a little bit bigger gap between them because I have a 4-point projection difference, but still, it's pretty much how I would expect it to look.
Okay. I think those are the two guys that we don't actually have to talk about in the grand scheme. We'll rank AD, LeBron, Murray, and Jokic later. Spoiler alert. I'm pretty sure that Jokic is one. But we'll coordinate that because obviously you're going to be playing probably 2 of those 4 guys, maybe 3 if you're punting with a 1K guy. Let's go to the rest of the Lakers. And I think we need to start with the guy that was sort of, I don't want to say the hero for the Lakers because that's not how it totally worked out, but we saw the bigger day out of Rui Hachimura, fell into some more minutes, went to that as a second half change from Darvin Ham. He started guarding Nikola Jokic. He is 3,600 today. He looks great. He's 50% owned. I think that's totally viable. Given what we're expecting from his minutes, even if you give him 20, he's very interesting. I think there's a lot more upside there. Is he the pseudo best play from the Lakers?
I think so. I mean, I don't expect what they did at the end of game 1 to work over a long period of time, but I do expect them to try it until it fails. And at 3,600, it's not like that's requiring you to be out there, long periods of time. And also, it's not like if and when this fails, Rui wasn't in there. It's not like Rui came from not in the rotation and then had some success defending Jokic. And as soon as that stops working, he's going back to the bench. Like he's in the rotation either way.
Yeah.
If the longer that works, the more valuable he is to the Lakers and the more minutes he's going to play. But even assuming it fails before the end of this game, he's still in the rotation. He's still 3,600. He's still going to look like a pretty good value.
What about the guy that shares his position? Jared Vanderbilt, 2,600, 20% owned, and could play more. Didn't really see as much as I would have liked him to see in the last game. He feels like a bit of a wild card at a price tag where it's like, okay, he's cheap. He does play sometimes now. It's minimal over the past few games. What do we do with Vanderbilt?
It's tough because it screws their offense up so much. We saw that in the Golden State series. That was a series where coming in, you and I expected Vanderbilt to play quite a bit for defensive reasons. And it was just like, this doesn't work. And it's, you still have that issue here. So, with it being a showdown slate and it being really cheap, you could at least have the thought process, where it's just like, he's really cheap. And maybe if Rui gets in foul trouble or Rui fails miserably, they give Vanderbilt more minutes potentially, but he also, just creates problems offensively that Rui does not create. Not that Rui's great offensively, but he at least can space the floor and, do things outside of stand underneath the basket. So I don't have a lot of confidence in him getting more minutes, but he is cheap enough that it's not a terrible play.
I think he's essentially AD's backup.
Right.
And that is that's a great spot to be if you think that AD is going to pull his quad in the first quarter. But there's going to be one day to get to Vanderbilt and you're not going to know that you needed to do it the day before is my expectation.
Right.
But he straight AD backup game 1 in the first half. He played a little bit more alongside of him in the third quarter and then was the guy. And then actually, took the spot where AD was off the floor in the fourth. I think that's what they have to do. I think they need the floor spacing of the other. You need it to be LeBron and 3 other shooters, or at least 3 other guard type people that are going to shoot a 3 when they can. Do you think the 20% ownership is okay? Is there value in Vanderbilt? Is he more interesting than a 1K guy?
Probably. I mean, so this is where I always have trouble with that. I understand the merit, especially in a series like this, to going to that 0 projection, but it does still limit your ceiling typically because you're just expecting to take a 0. So if I prefer getting to somebody like Vanderbilt, but at the same time, I don't want to sacrifice too much. If the difference between being able to get to all of Jokic, LeBron, Davis is playing Vanderbilt or playing a 0, I'll take the 0. But, if it's I have to play Michael Porter Jr. instead of Jamal Murray with those 3 guys, I'm more inclined to take more of the Vanderbilt lineups.
Okay. I felt like starting with Rui and starting with Vanderbilt are probably the easier spots to do it. Do you have much to say for Austin Reeves? He's 7,400. He's currently 38% owned. He played massive minutes in game 1, and it just seems like he's going to be out there playing about as much as he can in every single game now. There doesn't seem to be any ambiguity to Austin Reeves' status.
Yeah, I mean, the minutes are just there. This is, you saw it at the end of the season when they had to win games. You saw it in the previous round of the playoffs. You saw it in the play-in series. Austin Reeves is just playing huge minutes. It still feels weird to say, but Austin Reeves' minutes are about as secure as anything on this team other than Davis and LeBron.
Yeah, they absolutely 100% are. Speaking of people who play minutes, I don't know how secure they are at this point in time. How do we handle D'Angelo Russell? 7K today, 25% owned. He did not see the floor after his third quarter rotation because he was straight dog shit in the first game.
And I think it was by design from the Nuggets too. Like Malone talked about it. I was actually surprised how openly Malone talked about it.
I think he was so open about it because it's obvious.
Yeah, it was just still weird just to see him just basically just be like, yeah, I noticed Russell wasn't out there anymore. I wonder what they're going to do in game 2. Like, yeah, but
he knew that he knew the plan was, well, we're going to go through this dude anytime that he is the last line of defense. We're taking it right to the rack. And you saw it over and over. That Bruce Brown went through him a couple of times. Jeff Green went through him once. Like, it was brutal for him.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, it would be one thing, we talk about it a lot during the regular season where it's just like, oh, well, this is a great spot to get back to this guy because he played limited minutes last game because he played like shit, talking about like him shooting poorly or something. Getting played off the floor defensively by a team that was actively trying to play you off the floor defensively is not a reason to be confident that he's having a good bounce back game in game 2.
No. That said, he can.
Sure.
He's tricky today because I think if the shot's falling,
right, then you get
to close.
Right, like like he at least creates the situation where it's just like, all right, he's a liability on that end, but he's contributing on the other end. If he's not knocking down his shots, there's just no reason for him to be on the floor. I still think it's hard for him to be out there closing, but it's not a zero.
So what do we do? How do we project someone's minutes like this? Is that 30? Is that 28? What do we do for?
I think it's probably like 28-ish.
Yeah,
like played 26 last game. I tend to think that more often than not, he doesn't play like 34 minutes or anything. So I think expecting something in that range makes sense.
Chandre with the dumb comment of the day. It's like you got to get that quota in. It's like you're trying to give out speeding tickets. If playing defense wasn't hard, everyone would do it. If you were allowed to call your boss then everyone would do it. That's a very good Anthony Jeselnik joke for the Charlie Sheen roast.
I don't remember.
Sheen had called his boss at whatever, Fox, NBC. Was it CBS? Yeah. A very unsavory term for a particular religious group. And Jeselnik made a joke about it during the roast about how everyone would do it then. But yeah, that's the same situation. Like, if defense were easy to play, we would never everyone would do it. That would be how this would work.
Just doubling down on terrible takes.
Yeah. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Effort makes up for a lack of skill.
Sure.
That said, I don't think a team of Rudies are going to go out there and lock people down. And I don't mean go Bears. I mean Rudy, the crappy D end from Notre Dame, or whatever the hell position he played that was dog shit.
Yeah. And Phil had a good point. Like, Russell might just not start.
It would not be the most surprising thing in the world if that just became Rui Hachimura. Be aware that could happen. I don't think they go there yet, but you can't really put it off. The problem then is like, well, what do you do with him? Like, how do you even bring him back? What's the goal to bring him back out there? Right. It's not like you're like, oh, well, he can play the other, 14 plus minutes that the starters are off. Like, nobody leaves the floor in these series, so it's not like you get to hide him on the second unit. When he's gone, I don't think he's going to be too stoked to be a free agent coming up after he played 12 minutes in closeout games.
Right. Although Denver's second unit does suck, so you could just run him with the second unit, probably.
Sort of, I guess. I mean, the second, second unit is minimal at best. That's 5.5 minutes that Jokic wasn't on the floor.
Right.
Like, we're mildly limited at that point in time. What do you want to do with Schroeder? 4,800 seems to be safe today. I don't really see a way around getting to Schroeder. Sort of like almost as easy to get to me as Rui. Are you surprised to see his ownership only be 33%?
For Schroeder?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, he's 4,800, so it's not like he's free. He doesn't do a lot fantasy-wise when he's playing with Davis and LeBron from a point per minute standpoint. And because of the nature of the slate, where you are prioritizing getting as much Jokic, Davis, LeBron as you can, you're going to want to get a lot of Jamal Murray. I think it kind of creates a situation where like he's kind of tough to get to because you're just going to end up looking to more like Rui at 3,600, Christian Brown at 2,200, Lonnie's $1,000 cheaper, Jeff Green's $1,800 cheaper. Vanderbilt's 1,200 or 2,200 cheaper. Like, I think he kind of just gets squeezed at that price tag.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a little over the field on him. I'm pretty interested just because I think I don't want to say that he's like Austin Reeves, but I would be shocked if he doesn't play, I don't know, 28 minutes at a minimum.
Okay, he's trolling now, obviously.
The Denver second unit is good.
The one constant that is indisputable in the NBA this year is that Denver's second unit has been garbage all season long.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a different second unit now that you've excised two of those guys and minimized the other three to like half of their rotations that they normally have. But like, because Bruce Brown is a pseudo starter.
Right.
He just happens to be a sixth guy. But like, if Jeff Green is this bench is good guy at 45 years old or whatever the hell he is now, and there's nobody there's no break in case of emergency behind these guys. Like, they're dead in the water after Jeff Green. This
is the best version of their second unit, but yeah. I mean, Malone's just been all over the place with it this year and hasn't found anything that works. In the last game, 7-2 run from the Lakers as they start going to the second unit, 7-0 run at the beginning of the third, 11-2 run end of the third. Like, all you have to do is look at the last game, and it still didn't work.
Christian Brown -16, Jeff Green -10, Bruce Brown -5. The rest of the Denver starters all positive.
Yeah, it's been a thing.
And that has not been a secret all year. I mean, when you say, how do you explain Boston's defense this year in a way to try to be like, see, it's effort over skill. I describe it like this. They have a different coach. Maybe Joe Mazzulla sucks at coaching defense and Ime Udoka was good at it. Could it have been that? Because that seems likely.
Yep.
I mean, people have been taking steaming dumps all over Mazzulla for like the past 4 months. It's a giant sign that it's him. Is there anybody else we should be talking about for the Lakers, by the way?
Unrelated to that, Greg posted or tweeted earlier the current odds to win the championship. And the Celtics, it's like Denver +140, Celtics like +180.
Yeah.
Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, the Heat are like +800 or something.
Yeah, Heat are +800, Lakers are +600. Like, I don't think the Lakers are getting past the Nuggets, but I would rather bet that than bet the Celtics. And I would rather bet the Heat than bet the Celtics. I'd rather bet the Nuggets than bet the Celtics. Like, it's the only team in the postseason right now that doesn't have at least like average coach.
I don't know how to balance that one because they are like, the Heat are massive dogs. Yeah, I don't know how to reconcile that because it like just doesn't feel that way.
Right, but Spoelstra's just so much better.
But like, that should be baked in then, shouldn't it? Like, the Heat were 8-point dogs yesterday or whatever,
right? And
they're gonna be again. Well, I mean, what's the line right now? Do you know it by any chance?
No.
It's 9. And I mean, like, I expect Boston to beat the piss out of Miami.
Right. Yeah, and it's like if it were lower, you would just be jamming Boston.
Yeah. Like, Boston's going to be sizable favorites in Miami. Like, well, it's sizable for like a road dog in a Western Conference or Eastern Conference final situation. Like, it's crazy how much it doesn't feel like that. But in all actuality, we're talking about two teams that are vastly different in overall talent level.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
And I trust Spo like with my life, and I don't trust Mazzulla to basically do anything.
A lot of shit about Spo.
Me?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Where are you leading this?
The guy that made it up in chat and said you need to apologize for all your Spo slander.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. I was like, dude, what are you? He's like very clearly as high end of a coach as you get. Oh man, I got nothing else for the Lakers. Lonnie Walker is definitely on the team. Just sort of plays.
Yeah, he's fine. He's cheap. Obviously, if he gets hot, he can play more.
He's just like a very uninteresting dude to talk about at 23% ownership. Who would be your primary 1K guy for the Lakers?
We don't have them in projections, so
do you want me to name everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. 1K guys on the Lakers: Beasley, Gabriel, Scottie Pippen Jr., Tristan Thompson, Shaq Harrison. Shaq Harrison gonna get it fucking paid for all of this. Cole Swider, Mo Bamba, Max Christie.
Beasley.
Oh, Troy Brown.
Yeah, I mean, it's either Beasley or Brown.
Okay. Yeah.
Probably Beasley. My thinking just being those are the two that I would guess are like next up to get in the game. And Beasley gives you offense while Brown doesn't. So from a fantasy standpoint, like if Beasley gets in, you're more likely to get like Beasley is much more likely to give you the round one Lonnie Walker game than Troy Brown is, where he just, kind of randomly plays a bunch more minutes and starts making a bunch of threes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, schedule for the rest of the day is simple. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next, 6:30 to 7:30. And then I got to talk about it like we always do. MLB lineup generator. I can't talk NBA lineup generator right now as much as I would like to, but it does not exist for Showdown. So that one's dead until next year. But MLB lineup generator is here, and you can get it for 50% off for your first week. This is the tool that all players in DFS that either want to get a little bit better or are looking to take their next step, this is the tool that should be used. First and foremost, 1 week, less than $5. 2, you start with all your stacks. So for DraftKings, we're talking 5 threes or 4 fours, or maybe just 5 blank. For FanDuel, you can do 4 fours, 4 threes, 4 2-2s. So we want to start with stacks. You could lock a player in if you want. Swap players around if you need to once lineups are generated. We generate all the lineups. You don't even have to handle that piece. We make the lineups that we think are good. We get rid of everything that stinks. Then we present the rest to you. So you can make chalky lineups, balanced lineups, contrarian lineups. You could export up to 20 of those lineups via CSV. Now's the time to get in. We're slowly turning down. The NBA season is getting put to bed shortly. MLB is in full force through the summer. This tool, if you're looking to get into MLB, is the way to do it. And it again, less than $5, $4.48 for your first week. Worst case scenario, you hate it, you cancel, and you're out $4.48. I think that's a pretty solid deal for you guys. All righty. Let's go to the Denver side. Much easier to talk about this team than I think any other team in the league right now. There are a very small amount of guys that I expect to play. They have not really deviated from that in ages. Every once in a while, you see Reggie Jackson, Peyton Watson, Ish Smith, Chanchar, and Zeke Naji show up for the final 2 minutes of a game, but otherwise, we don't get too much. Start at the top. 12,600 for Nikola Jokic, and yet he is still overwhelmingly the number one play today, 75% owned. He's projected for 28% at the captain. Is that right? Do I need to refresh that? 25% at captain. Is there any limit to Jokic? I have 100% right now, but like this is just a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's just on another level because he's not competing with Davis / LeBron like those guys are. Obviously, he's a better point per minute guy than both of them. 42 minutes in game one. Not that you were ever concerned about the playing time, but it's always nice to see it. I have Fantasy Cruncher just kind of running in the background right now. Jokic is showing up as captain 33% of the time. He's showing up total like 58% of the time. He's showing up as utility 58% of the time. He's showing up as captain 33% of the time. So just in almost everything that I'm building.
Yeah, he's in all 100% of my lineups as of right now.
And I assume probably 100% of what I'm actually playing.
Yeah. I've got 45% captain, 55% utility. Like it's Jam City. It's just too big of his median, like he's like 60% to go for 75 fantasy points or something crazy.
His median projection is 15 points. It's like 15 points higher than the next closest guy. I have him projected over 100 points as captain.
Yeah. I've got him at 69.8 regular.
Yeah, I'm at 69.
And I've got AD at 53.3. So we're talking, I've got him at a 16.5% gap.
Yeah.
Or 16.5 point gap.
We have an 18-point gap. We have Davis at 51.7 and Jokic at 69.6.
And I have absolutely no disagreements with that.
Nope.
He's so good. So is there any path to you in your mind? Like if you were building a bunch of lineups, is there any scenario where you would want to just have zero of him? Just play for the day where it's not him?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, that just sounds incredibly expensive.
Like I couldn't imagine wanting to just be light. Like if I were going to have 45%, I'd rather have zero.
I don't know about that. I mean,
and just like corner the market on the day that it's right. The Sean's on, I'm playing the two bottom stacks scenario here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just if you're playing 150 and you're taking that approach, are there really 150 lineups for you to play that aren't garbage without Jokic?
I would imagine, yeah. You go like AD, LeBron, Murray.
Yeah, and then all the different rotations of yeah.
Like I think the path is, but like, look, we know coming out of my stuff at the very least, I have him 36.5% captain, 47 utility. We're talking about 84%. Let's just say that I'm right. So 16% of the time it's not him. I'm guessing a lot of those 16% of the time it ends up being Murray, at least one of LeBron or AD, and I think you could build a relevant lineup there.
Yeah.
I think there's a path to think like one out of the games of this series, it's not him.
I have Jokic being optimal 90% of the time.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Whether that's captain,
I'm not too far away.
Yeah.
I think the only problem is how many non-Jokic, how frequently do you think you are duped for the non-Jokic lineups that you get? So
that's one issue.
If it's still a lot, then I don't want it.
That's one issue. The other issue is what percentage of the time that Jokic isn't, and this one might not be a big deal since people, but like, I'm trying to think like how to word this. What let's call it 10% that Jokic isn't optimal. Of that 10%, what percentage is like the game just goes to absolute shit and it's like some idiot's going to win with, Malik Beasley plus Troy Brown plus, like lineups that you're still never making, even if you aren't playing Jokic. So it's not like you're actually cornering the market on that 10% of the time if you go that route. And then, like you said, you are going to run into the issue, I think, probably pretty likely, where from a combination standpoint, the best non-Jokic lineups are played a lot because everybody that's like, oh, I'm going to just hope Jokic fails is going to gravitate towards the same starting point and the same lineups. It's going to be like, you see it a lot in NFL Showdown, or you see it a lot, on like smaller slate stuff. You see it in like MMA is an example where like you'll be like, oh, I played this 5% on fighter, so I'm unique. And then you're like, shit, I'm duped 100 times in this lineup because everybody played the same version of that lineup, with the low on fighter. I think you're going to see some of that for sure in the, non-Jokic lineups as well.
I don't think there's a way to easily filter out. I wanted to see like what the exposures looked like and what the dupe counts were for lineups that don't have Jokic, but you can't actually do that in lineup study. Does he only show up in this spot? No, he's in two of those spots. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to like negate a person. That's a shame. I want to check that out. I'll have to look into it. I'd like to know what the exposures and everything and how often people are playing the non-Jokic lineups. Anyway, let's get past that. 9,400 for Murray. Rank Murray, AD, and LeBron in terms of guys you want to get to.
Murray, AD, LeBron.
Yeah, same for me. I have 80% Murray. I had a giant stand last time.
Yeah, Murray showing up for me, 43% utility, 14.5% captain as far as being optimal. Davis is showing up 41% utility and like 12% captain. LeBron showing up around 7% captain, 39% utility. So Murray is the one showing up the most.
Got to hit Jillian Sullivan's super chat quick. Best 3-man cash game core on DraftKings. Jokic.
Yeah. I mean,
Rui.
it's three of those four.
You think?
I would think.
I would have said Rui had to be in there.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I'm just quickly crunching a bunch of lineups with without any randomness or anything. Davis, Jokic captain, Murray, Rui seem like the ones that you like. I would definitely have.
Yeah, I think the easier answer here is to name four people. I think it's Jokic, Murray, Rui, AD are the four that you're probably taking three of those four, trying to get four of them. But I think that would be your starting point and figuring out what you've got after that. You're probably taking a $1,000 guy and then filling out.
So we say that, but then I have LeBron actually in my highest projected lineup instead of AD.
Do you really? Interesting. You're spending the full 50, I guess, right? Or
49.9.
No, 40. I was going to say you're not under 47.7 or 49.7 or whatever.
Right.
So
yeah,
interesting.
So it's weird. So I built 132, my 132 highest projected lineups. Davis is in 90% of them, which is more than anybody. But in my actual highest projected, he's not in it.
Interesting. Okay. Punt at the bottom.
Christian Brown.
Okay. Oh no. Okay. Close enough, I guess. 2K and gets a projection.
Yeah, it's got Brown, Rui, and Schroeder.
Is Christian Brown better than a 1K guy?
He's showing up as better for me.
Better. So he's better than Vanderbilt then for you, right?
Yeah. Christian Brown showed up in about 25% of. Are you talking tournaments or cash?
I think I reverted to tournaments in my mind there. Thanks for the super chat, by the way.
Okay, I'll say because as far as the top lineups I just crunched, Brown was showing up 25% of the time. Vanderbilt was showing up 5%. Okay. For tournaments, Brown showing up around 28% for me. Vanderbilt around 20%.
Okay. Anything else we need to add for Murray here?
I don't think so. Just really, really high ceiling, very, very reasonable price tag.
Are you worried at all about 42% owned Aaron Gordon?
Worried as in that he's going to beat me when I don't have him?
No, playing time. Now, I don't want it to sound like Aaron Gordon's about to play 22 minutes today, but they are a little bit worried about the defensive setup of the Lakers and Aaron Gordon being left alone. And if the shot doesn't start falling, does Aaron Gordon become Bruce Brown for more rotations and more playing time than you would expect?
Sure.
Or MPJ to the 4, also viable.
Right. This is a team that has guys that can play multiple positions. They can change the lineup up. I was going to say, just from a more a broader standpoint, yes, I'm worried about that ownership because I think he should only be 30% owned. But
yeah,
yes, obviously factoring that in makes it riskier as well.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about him. Look, if he's willing to pull the trigger and shoot the rock and it goes, then they're going to stop leaving him because he's dynamic enough for it. He's not a total zero, but it started to get a little squirrely for him late, and they have the opportunity to be able to switch to someone else. If they wanted to go to Michael Porter Jr. at the 4, I think that could be okay. Do you prefer Gordon or Porter? Porter, $400 more expensive, a little cheaper though.
$400 more expensive, but a little cheaper,
or a little less owned. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
That's a real dumb statement. I can understand why you looked at me like I was Chandre.
So I have them both actually going a little bit over owned by pretty similar amounts. I think Gordon should be around 30%. He's showing up at 40. Or actually, I take that back. I think he should be about 30 in utility, showing up at 35. I think Porter should be 27 in utility, showing up at 31. So very similar between those two. I don't really have a strong preference when you factor everything in.
Hard to get to KCP and Bruce Brown today?
Yes. KCP showing up around 15% for me in utility. Bruce Brown is around 12. So pretty tough to get to both of those guys. I think it's sort of similar to Schroeder. I'm getting more Schroeder. Schroeder showing up around 26% for me. But I think it's sort of similar in the way that they kind of just get squeezed out because I don't want to be giving up top tier guys to get more mid-range KCP and Bruce Brown.
Okay. Jeff Green, 3K, 24% owned. That's the 5th highest mark of anyone on the Nuggets, which seems a tad high.
Yeah, seems a bit high. the value's there. He's showing up around like 18% for me. So I do think he's going a little bit over owned. Played 17 and a half minutes last game. So that means he played about 12 minutes next to Jokic. But yeah, it's just, you're not, I get why he's getting the ownership. I prefer builds that go like the Jeff Green route compared to, again, going more mid range for guys like Brown or KCP. But it's also Jeff Green.
Okay. Who would be your Denver punt 1K guy? I went Peyton Watson as my like representative, but fucking fine now.
Yeah, I mean, I need a list of guys because they're still not.
Gotcha. So that's gonna be Colin Gillespie, Reggie Jackson.
Oh wait, actually, they are in projections. I see them. Probably Watson.
Okay.
Like Watson or Najee.
Yeah. Or DeAndre, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't truly expect that it's going to go poorly. All the people advocating for Tristan Thompson, it's like, what do you do? Because he was good in 2017 to play, to be able to go out there and guard Jokic.
Yeah, good luck.
If Tristan Thompson, look, and I don't care what happens in like a 4-minute stint if he ends up showing up on the floor and like it goes well. If Tristan Thompson could still guard Nikola Jokic, he wouldn't be on the ass end of the bench for the Lakers any longer.
Right.
That dude would still have been playing all year in a very high level way.
Right. Yeah. Like, is that a real take that this dude who can't find a job on an NBA floor is the answer to guarding the MVP?
Yeah, that's why he was 4% owned or whatever. It became like a talking point heading into the game for game one. It was on ESPN. I think Perk said he should do it.
I was going to say it was probably Perk.
Yeah. It's like, if you think that this guy has the defensive capabilities to slow down the guy that should be the 3-time reigning defending MVP, this guy would play 30 minutes a night.
Right. And it's also like, you and I talk about this a lot during the regular season. Like, there's that tendency for people to just be like, oh, this team has a center, so you have to match up with another center. Jokic isn't just standing under the basket, banging and grabbing rebounds. Like,
no, not at all. Look, like I said, you could see Tristan Thompson get in a game for 3 minutes, play really hard, grab a couple boards, foul Jokic like 3 times, and like have a +4 run, and everybody's like, see, Tristan Thompson's got it. That doesn't mean that he's got it, but I mean, yeah, he's going to get some minutes in the series when Denver's up 44 and he comes in to mop it up with Cole Swider and the other assholes that I named that were 1K dudes. But no, he shouldn't be playing. He shouldn't be on a roster.
Yeah. And just to recap on this, can a DNP be optimal? It was optimal 2 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah. If this were in a impregnate a Kardashian contest, then Tristan Thompson would certainly be in the starting lineup. But that's not what we have going here.
Got to get Kuzma back for that one.
Well, he has. I mean, I think Tristan's got 2.
I think so.
Yeah. Chris Humphries, on the other hand, didn't get one in time. Missed out on like $250 million.
Right.
I would have ran my condom over a cheese grater first. Is there anything else we should talk about for the Nuggets?
No. Sorry, there was a Michael Malone quote that just popped up on Twitter, and I was trying to figure out what the hell it meant, but I still don't have an answer.
By any chance, did you watch Veep?
Yes. I don't think I finished it. I have seen a good chunk of it.
Okay. 1, finish it. Great show. Great insult comedy. Very much perfect for you and I. 2, I just got a text from Katie, my wife, who said she's in San Francisco at work stuff. My client compared me to Gary from Veep, which is like the bad guy for Selena.
Right.
She's not going to be happy about that at all. That's also not her role in life, which is really funny.
That's the same actor from Arrested Development, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, I got to let her know. I burst out laughing. That woman is only capable of sending me text messages while I'm live. It's incredible. We got to talk about BetMGM, sponsor of this show. the place that you should be going right now if you're looking to get yourself into sports betting and you want an incredible deal. 1 month of Stochastic Plus Platinum for free. That's what happens when you click the link in the description. That's what you need. That's going to be very, very vital for you. 2, this is the other big one. You will get up to $1,000 back in bet credits if you lose your first bet. So how this works, you'll make your deposit. My recommendation, put in as much as you can, upwards of $1,000. If the bet wins, it's got to be at least $10. But if your first bet wins, you just move forward with all of that money in your account. You don't got to worry about it. And then you still have a month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. If it loses, you get that entire bet back in bet credits. You get an extra shot at it. You should be taking an underdog in this spot. If you want to, drop it onto the Lakers tonight on the money line. Take a big shot, because if it wins, you're really starting off with a massive, massive bankroll. And we've got plenty of tools at Odd Shopper and Stochastic that could help you out. Bet Pro videos from Adam. I mean, you can even watch stuff like my PrizePicks videos if you want prop leans, things like that. We've got everything that exists on Odd Shopper. Multiple different options for you if you're really looking to get better on the sports betting side. Now, the legal age for gambling in most states is 21 or over. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Adam and I just constantly texting that for each other. Just letting everybody know. But
yeah,
guys,
they text me back like, no, man, just look at your top 1% rate. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I can't even bring myself to pull it up. I'm terrified. I just don't want to see it. It's going to make me too angry. What won't make you angry, though? Signing up at BetMGM. Can we take a quick look at FanDuel?
Yeah. Play Jokic. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, he's like mildly important today. He is 46% owned at the MVP, 18 at Star, 66% overall. I think that's underrepresented. I would like to get to more of him. But you can really only play him at MVP and Star. I don't think that you can really justify Pro and utility.
Yeah, I was like, what happens in this game for him to be the optimal Pro or utility? Like, I guess the answer is that Davis and LeBron are the two highest scorers, and then somehow Jamal Murray beats Jokic. But at that point, like, you're kind of out of salary probably.
That's why I think you would lose it just to be able to open up the rest of the lineup, but I'm not totally sure.
Right.
Riley
Cooper, I think if you were going a non-MVP or Star route for Jokic, you would probably just not play Jokic.
Right. Agreed.
I mean, you could, I guess, make the case that it's just like he's the third highest scorer behind Davis and LeBron, but
there would have to be a chasm between him and 4 at that point in time.
Right.
Because if somebody was like 3 points behind him, then you're getting that guy and you're saving whatever thousand.
Right. And the rest of your lineup's better. Right.
Yeah. Riley Cooper says, I have Smart 38, Brown. Is that point totals from yesterday? None of that matters. Lonnie Walker, Rui, and Jokic, or Murray, Porter, and Lonnie Walker. So Lonnie's in both of them. So Rui and Jokic, or Murray and Porter?
Rui, Jokic.
Yeah. Agreed.
I mean, like, realistically, it would be close if it was just Jokic or Murray and Porter.
All righty. The rest of FanDuel, I don't like being so vague with this question, and I know it's going to cause you to like have to dig into this in a much bigger way. But when you look at the ownership, do you see anybody that immediately stands out to you as like incorrect, either positively or negatively?
On FanDuel?
Yeah.
Jokic, 44% MVP.
Yeah, I agree there. Outside of that one. I really think Austin Reeves is like an awful play today.
At 12K?
Yeah.
I think there's something here with Jamal Murray. 9% MVP, 9% Pro, 19% Star. I think that it just, and I haven't run anything to like back this up. It just feels like he's going underrepresented at MVP and Pro.
Based on his current ownership right
or at least
now,
one of them.
19% at Star. I had him at 25. I like him there in that second spot.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think like what lineups with him in one of the other spots would look like. If he's MVP,
if he's the Star, is that a lineup without Jokic?
so I think Star is a Jokic lineup. What I was kind of
okay.
trying to think is if Murray's MVP, it's not a Jokic lineup, I don't think.
Agreed.
I
feel like I'm trying to get away from Jokic or getting away from Jokic 1, Murray 2.
Yeah, because I
would
guess
want to not have it.
Right. Like the thinking there is if Murray beats LeBron and Davis, how good of a game can Jokic have?
Right.
Not to say that Murray and Jokic can't have a good game at the same time, but if they both have good games to the point where neither of LeBron or Davis match Jamal Murray, the game's got to be over.
Yeah. There's Jokic and Murray can't smash to be the two highest scorers and have this game be competitive. That's hard to do.
Right. Unless, to be the two high scorers, like you said. Yeah. I was going to say, unless, like, they can both smash, but one of those other two is also smashing.
Yeah. I think Dennis Schroeder is massively underowned. $7,500.
Yeah. I mean, he just doesn't do anything when those guys are out there.
Yeah, but like if Lonnie Walker is going to be 7K and 14% owned, like who's the first guy above him? Like Rui's $500 more expensive than Schroeder.
Yeah, Bruce Brown's getting similar ownership for 1,000 more.
Like that's so much given the Jokic price, AD price, LeBron price, Murray price. Like Schroeder just seems like a very easy guy to get to at 7,500. He came out in my utility spot way more than what we're projecting for ownership.
Yeah, I guess it is. It does make sense when you think about it. It's like he is cheaper than Rui.
Yeah. Like, is he really? I mean, I guess that's probably about right. Like, I look at him in KCP and it's like, well, I would just rather have Schroeder and figure out what else I can do with $1,500 more.
Yeah. I think Aaron Gordon looks like he might be going a little bit under-owned here.
I think he looks a lot more interesting at the pro spot, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah. But like he's 1,500 on FanDuel. He's 1,500 less than Porter. He's 5K less than Murray.
Yeah, I'm more interested in Gordon than Porter here.
Yeah, this is one where if you're playing two sites, I think I probably end up like over the field on Gordon on FanDuel and under on DraftKings.
I think we're on the same page. I don't have anything else really to add for FanDuel. I'm going to hit chat. Chat, if you got any questions, we got about 2 or 3 minutes before we're going to leave and turn it over to NBA Live before lock. Hit that like button, by the way. We got about a little over 1,000 people, 150 likes. If we can get up to 200, I would like to see that. Help us out here, folks. Let's see. Any chats? Who is Rui's backup if he starts? Jared Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell? I mean, like,
right.
People don't really have backups in that same vein. Yeah, but like, that's not as much of a backup as it is like, well, somebody's got to be out there for the 7 minutes he's not.
Right.
It's not like we're chopping 26, 22s like we talk about during the regular season.
Right. Yeah, you're just getting some combination of like Lonnie, Vanderbilt, Russell. If
all of the other guys that aren't on the starting lineup are the backups in some way.
But yeah, like I don't think there's like one direct, Rui plays 28, this guy plays 20.
All right, let's see. You know what? This isn't going to be about the slate. What were your thoughts on the Spurs winning the lottery?
It's bullshit. It should have been the Wizards. I could have done without knowing the Wizards were like 6 of 11. Had like a 6 and 11 chance of getting it.
Would you do you like him going to San Antonio though?
I give a shit.
Okay. I don't know if that was like more interesting or less interesting to you than like other potential outcomes.
I automatically get bored thinking about it, but that's just because of Tim Duncan.
Yeah, that's fair. I have no qualms. It should be fun, but I'm really anxious to see what they do. I mean, they've got like 50 million in cap room and shit. Like they can make, and like 10 first-round picks over the next 5 years or something. They have the opportunity to like take a swing. I think they'd be a fantastic team to throw like a really stupid money offer at Draymond.
Yeah, sure.
Like bring him in. That way, Wemby can like, play the 4 on offense. You get to learn from Draymond defensively, which I think would be really interesting to see. I also think that they could do the opposite and go just throw a bag at Fred VanVleet. Not that I don't think Fred VanVleet's going to age well, but getting like an adult in the room point guard so that Wemby can like actually be fed by real things. They can do. I'm anxious to see what they're about to do. What were you laughing at? What did chat do?
KS said it's better they didn't because they would have taken Scoot. Talking about the Wizards.
Can you imagine if they like somehow did win the lottery and they had like Wemby and Porzingis?
Oh, no, like, that would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Could you imagine that? These got to be holding hands clean across the court,
right? And like for the Wizards to get out of where they're stuck at, like they have to run good in the lottery at some point. Like they aren't getting more talent otherwise.
Well, they're not going to get it by just drafting the guys they think they should.
Yeah, that too. I mean, the 8th pick, I mean, maybe we'll get somebody good. Like we're at least being linked to guys that seem like they can play basketball. So that's good.
Well, they got plenty of time to ruin those situations. I'm going to hit you with this. We'll see if you're ready. Here are the most recent draft picks for the Wizards. Johnny Davis, and I'm not going to hit the second round weirdos. Johnny Davis, giant failure, it seems. Yeah. Corey Kispert. I think that's a solid pick for 15th.
I think they weren't there guys after him that would have been better, but like he's fine.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
but yeah. At 15, like you can't expect you're always going to get Kawhi or whatever,
Right.
Denny at 9. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. That's the Halliburton draft, so it just automatically sucks. But
Troy Brown at 15. They're like really good at drafting like 9th men.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was that recent. Wow.
Jerian Grant in 2015 because they didn't have one in 16 or 17.
He was a first-round pick?
19th, yeah. And then Otto Porter in 2013 was the next one. Beal, and then Jan Vesely, and then Wall. So when you go 1st, 6th, 3rd, Wall, Beal, Porter, Vesely, that's probably like a win-ish.
Yeah, I mean, the Vesely part could have not happened.
Yeah, that could have went a different direction. You ready to get out of here?
Yeah.
NBA Live Before Lock coming up next, guys. Stay right here on this stream, and shout out to BetMGM for being the sponsor. Good luck, everybody. Go Nugs. Jokic is the real MVP.
They took him over Kemba. I guess they had John Wall.
Yo, it's that time of the week again. Time to induct some of you fine people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Give out some free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum, $120 value, and all you got to do to get your name on the board, to get that free month, download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar. It's easy. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and boom, got a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. More importantly, you get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Crowning achievement, a moment of a lifetime. And hopefully we'll see you here for it next week. But we got some great ones this week. Kicking it off with John-C 2000. Just want to thank the Stochastic team. They list a bunch of names, not going to do all of that. But finished 3rd in the $20 NBA shoot-around. 1000x my $20 buy-in for $20K. One lineup. Finally have money to buy some Super Chats. And Neil, where do you buy your flannel shirts? I need some. Congrats, man. Huge win there. Single bullet. Amazing stuff. LX Foley. Huge win last night using the lineup generator data. You guys know it. It's less than $4.50 for your first week. Baseball and basketball. Want to get in on that? Congrats, LX Foley. $15,000. Second place in the 300K Monday NBA clutch shot. 2 big wins out of the gate. Followed up by Ben Snapping. Appreciate y'all, boys. Sorry for the y'all, Lafayette. I'll never be comfortable with that word, but that's all right, man. You can say whatever you want. It's your day. I know you're going to be the one reading this in the morning. Holler at me. Yeah, $37.50 right there for Jet Life to the next life in NBA tiers. We got a lot of tiers questions lately. Been snapping, put up a big one. First place, almost $4,000. welcome to the Hall of Fame, fella. And the 20K Thursday NBA pick and roll third place goes to JDJ 764, $750. Third place out of almost 11,000. Shout out to JDJ. Easy for me to say. And how about AG? You guys got some names here. AG1216, bunch of robots. Or GOM16, Go MH16. I don't know. Anyway, he took third place on 23,781 entries, won $250 on 50 cents. Looks like a whole lot more than that as well, man. First place in the pickoff, first place in the elbow shot, second place in chin music, third place in the mini max. Huge night, man. Congratulations. Crash Money back again. When $5 becomes $250, you got to thank the whole Stochastic crew and Steve Buzzard, the Colts, for the office hours help. Yep, that's right. You get these free months, you're getting into the office hours. Steve's in there helping you guys refine your game. Who better than Steve to help you out? Best crew in projections in DFS. I could get used to this winning thing. Josh Prop, very simple man, at Stochastic HOF, $175, second place in the 5K mini max. And remember, it doesn't matter how much the entry fee is, whether it's $20, $5, or 5 cents. As long as it's top three in a field of 5,000 or more, you're getting up here and you're getting the free month as well. Just like Josh, and just like, is it BLK, sir? Black Sir 89? Either way, shout out to the whole team. I'm always watching and using the tools at stochastic.com and loving the results. Got a nice little ROI and the free month. I'll take it. Yeah, man, that's how it works. Like I said, third place in the wiffle ball, 150 max as well. And we'll round it out with Michael Thomas. Hit on my placeholder lineup. Always remember to keep that one in the game. But gosh darn it, leave more than a nickel and a quarter on it. How long until I can get that free month again, boys? I don't know. That's not for me to say. We'll have to go back and look. But congratulations, everyone. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. Welcome back if you've been here before. Remember, just rock that avatar wherever it is you play and tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF to get in on the action. And we'll see you back here for the next one.
Those Hilton Honors points coming in for the win.
What is happening, everybody? By the way, Jordan, you're getting a little sloppy with your countdowns. You're doing all your countdowns now are off camera. I don't know if you've picked up on this lately, but I could count to 5 in my head, so I know we're about to start. But you've started to do your fingers. You count like this, and yeah, you do it like that. So I don't actually know how many fingers you're holding up at the time. I don't know if you're flipping me off. I don't know what the deal is. But we've got a basketball game to talk about. The Los Angeles Lakers against the Denver Nuggets. Denver up 1-0 in the series after taking the first game. A lot of the public seems to think that the Los Angeles Lakers have solved Nikola Jokic. We'll figure out later tonight if that is the case. What you guys could do for us is like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to BetMGM, who are sponsoring the show tonight, and joined here by Eric Lindquist with all of his people in Salt Lake City, Utah. Eric, what is happening?
Oh my God. They look like me, that's for sure.
Yeah. And if they didn't look like you, they wouldn't let you in the city. That's how it works over there.
Elder Lindquist. Look, I mean, it doesn't exactly float off the tongue. Just throwing it out there.
It's nice to see you out of the hotel in your house and now in a real hotel. Things are going well for.
Thank you. Thank you so
so
much. Yeah, no, it's wild too because I forgot to register turn-ins this morning before I started my drive really, really early this morning. My wife went to Australia for a couple of weeks and I'm going back to go see family. And Duke was up and ready to rock. And, we had a great morning, got to go to a dog park on the drive over and got to go see a buddy I haven't seen for years and years who just had his third kid. Everything's great. But I realized, oh shit, I don't have anything reserved. I was able to get all the bets because you go through Arizona for like 15 minutes. So I got all my bets in, but I was like, oh shit, I can't do DFS. You can do DFS in Utah. How? They're against everything.
Not DFS. You play. No, that's not true at all. Here are the things you can do, and you can't do drugs in Utah, but
Nope.
you could play DFS. You could get experience to multiple seasons at the same time. You can marry 15 women. They've got a lot of things going on over there.
Very nice.
Yeah, that nice. So we've got Eric over in Salt Lake City, Utah. We've got me in my office where I never leave ever under any circumstances. And we've got this basketball game to talk about today. And we've got Denver up 1-0 in the series. And did you see the interview that Michael Malone was doing shortly before the show? Because I thought it was quite funny, and it seems to have Lakers fans fairly riled up.
No, I didn't. But is it like D'Angelo Russell centered?
No, it is Rui Hachimura. It was Rui Hachimura centered. Just saying how he doesn't feel like the Lakers are locks to win because they're down 1-0 in the series, and Rui guarded Nikola Jokic for 6 possessions.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. Obviously, it worked to a certain extent, but it's like it drives me bonkers when people assume that one team can make adjustments, but the other team can't. You know what I mean? It's like, I think Nikola Jokic is going to figure out what happened over the course of those 6 possessions, probably do something about it, just throwing it out there. Probably going to be, I think it definitely speaks to Anthony Davis and LeBron James, probably better off roaming than being on Nikola Jokic. You might as well just have some dead defender because nobody can guard him anyway. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you have those two roam around and do whatever, but I had a weird feeling. I mean, I don't want to go back to Cody Zeller, but like Tristan Thompson might see the floor tonight. Do you feel like that at all in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Okay.
When's the last time Tristan Thompson played?
Like never. I think he played in blowout run in Golden State, but like I just don't know what they do. Like Rui Hachimura is not the answer still. There's nothing you can do against Jokic. He's just playing. Did you see on PrizePicks, our sponsor, did you see his fantasy score
Not
projection?
Sponsor, by the way, but this is what happened. Eric doesn't have the TV behind him to put the stuff up. He gets confused.
Hold, please.
You're gonna order the front desk to bring a TV up to you to put the thing on the screen.
Sponsored by BetMGM. So they don't have a 64 fantasy score projection for Nikola Jokic tonight.
No, they don't. But what they do have is they offer this. If you sign up at BetMGM using the link we have below, you do get 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum, and your first bet, $1,000. If it loses, you get it back to you in bonus bet. So no. They don't have a fantasy point over under for Nikola Jokic, but they do have 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum where you get access to all of our projections, all of our tools for basketball, for baseball, for every single other DFS sport out there. So they do have that going for them, but carry on, my friend.
I'm at a very nice hotel. Why is every place that I go not a nice hotel? This is the Embassy Suites, my friends. Hilton Honor Points. My internet is way better here than it is at home.
Yeah, but I have a feeling if your camera was angled a little bit differently and we could see more in that mirror, there would be a dead hooker on screen in your bed. Just a guess, but like I could tell it's kind of cut off at a very convenient spot. Yeah. All right. Little too much. Cringy. I'm uncomfortable. He's getting closer. I don't like this. Jordan, can you turn his camera off? I don't like this. By the way, shout out to Guitar Z-Man 247 who gifted out 10 Stochastic DFS YouTube memberships in the YouTube chat. So we appreciate you there, Guitar Man. But back to what you were saying. No, I do not think Tristan Thompson is very likely to play today.
I was searching for it. I'm probably on board where he doesn't, but like maybe just get all big body out there. I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know what to make of it. I think it's pretty clear that Nikola Jokic is just going to keep getting his, and you should move along with your life.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that as well. I think the Lakers are going to try the Rui Hachimura because the thing also is when Rui was on, so the Lakers got back into the game when they switched up what they were doing on defense. But defense was not why they got back into the game. It was because they knocked down a bunch of threes, which is what I think is the funniest thing about the entire thing. Is people like, look at the defensive adjustments the Lakers made. It's like, all right, but Denver scored 132 points in the game. The reason that the Lakers were back in at the end, Austin Reeves knocked down a bunch of threes. They had Rui knock down some shots. That's why they ultimately got back into it. It was not because of any sort of defensive scheme they did against Jokic. Jokic finished like, 13 of 17 from the field?
Yeah.
He had a triple-double nearly at halftime. It was not because of anything defensively they did on Nikola Jokic. So if anybody's under the impression that this is not going to be a good spot for Nikola Jokic because Rui is potentially going to be guarding him, I don't really buy into that kind of nonsense at all. But what I do think is going to be really interesting about this slate is Rui appears to be massively, massively popular. He is somebody the field is getting to a ton, and I understand why. There is opportunity for him to play extended minutes. He's really cheap, and we need the salary savings to pay up for studs. So we've got Rui, who's just by far the most popular value option on the slate. He is projected for nearly north of 50% ownership now on DraftKings. And then on FanDuel, he's going to be a little bit less popular. He's relatively more expensive, but we still got Rui project for 25% ownership over on FanDuel. So let's start by talking about Rui, because this is the value piece that, number one, he's all in the news right now because he's getting made fun of by Michael Malone. And then in addition to that, people want to play him because of the extended minutes. I do agree he's a really good value play, points per dollar sense, but in large field tournaments, what are you going to be doing with him relative to his ownership when he's projected for north of 50%?
It's really hard to not click it still. It's 3,600. Jokic being played in the captain's spot. Is there anything that just feels more safe than doing that here at the moment than going Jokic with Cheapy? And I think Rui, you kind of make sense of what do you think about the 28 minutes and then D'Angelo Russell just being horrible. D'Angelo Russell, throughout that Golden State series, I mean, he got back to LA, he knocked down shots, but you saw very clearly that when he's not, you're going to see Schroeder playing over him. You're going to see, Austin Reeves got it going as well. They had no reason to have D'Angelo Russell out there on the floor 26 minutes, and it just became Rui 28 minutes. If you think that continues, if you think he's going to go 8 for 11 from the field, I don't think that, but I think it's just a price and a spot where when you think about Jokic being so safe and being so ridiculous at the moment, you need to find a cheapie, and 20 minutes of Rui Hachimura would be enough at that number.
So I talked about this morning. I did the strategy show. So this is my second time talking about this slate. Considering the ownership on Rui and how much his minutes are tied to D'Angelo Russell being limited, I love D'Angelo Russell as a leverage play off of Rui Hachimura. And it seems like they shouldn't be related, right? Like what does Rui have to do with D'Angelo Russell? And then you look at the minutes from last game. Down the stretch, Rui played the final, it was like 14 minutes of the game, something absurd. Mm-hmm. And Russell didn't step on the court at all in those minutes. That's who his minutes came at the expense of. If Rui goes out and tries to guard Jokic and Jokic destroys him, which seems fairly likely to me, then what do the Lakers do? Then they just go back to playing D'Angelo Russell. Russell's minutes have just been all over the place. He played 41 minutes 2 games ago. He played 26 minutes last game. So his minutes are extremely inconsistent, kind of the variance that we like in a single game type slate. And then especially consider the ownership on D'Angelo Russell. 7K, he's projected for 22.6% ownership over on DK. FanDuel, we got D'Angelo Russell projected for 28.6% ownership. Relative to his upside, I think he's one of the more under-owned players on the slate. That's a leverage play that I like off of Rui Hachimura. Is that something that makes sense to you? Or are you of the opinion that D'Lo is just kind of trash and the Lakers aren't going to give him the minutes?
Well, I do not like D'Angelo Russell. I mean, as a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, we prioritized him over LaMelo Ball, and I'm glad we did because it ended up working out really nicely getting Anthony Edwards, and you have LaMelo running into injury issues and things of that nature. But D'Angelo Russell can knock down shots. It makes all the sense in all the land. I think that's a really good point. Something that, if I had just taken 5 seconds to think about, that definitely makes a ton of sense. I think also, in addition to Rui, it's like, Lonnie Walker also would make some sense to get extended minutes. Not that I'm looking, they're both very, very cheap. I think you can play them together as well. But I mean, they're going to need some extra scoring, something off the bench there in some capacity. Lonnie Walker, 20 minutes, pretty quiet when you look at what everybody's got him projected for in terms of ownership today, sitting around 20.8%. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever for him to get more minutes than Rui Hachimura. He basically has the last 4 games up until then. I mean, Rui had fallen out of rotation, now playing himself into some minutes. This is just a good series, I would think, for Rui, just because of his size. But Lonnie Walker also makes some sense to get a little bit more of, considering he's less than half of that ownership.
So we'll talk about some other value options to get to. And we got a couple super chats here as well. First from Malukar, who wants to know who is cheap on FanDuel they think will actually score. So if we go to FanDuel, what do we want to set the salary at here? We're going to go.
It sounds like he's looking for like a 6,500 or a 6K player. Lonnie Walker's the guy that I feel the most comfortable, who's 7K over there. And then Christian Brown is 6,500. So like, I think it's probably those two. Jared Vanderbilt probably falls into some minutes as well again. So, I mean, we only saw 10 from him last time around off the bench, but I think probably Brown and looking at 7K Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, it depends what price you're talking about. Like 7,500 Dennis Schroeder, I think is a very good cheap play on FanDuel, who's going a little bit overlooked. Another guy too in Dennis Schroeder, who if minutes kind of get taken away from Rui a little bit, they could go to D'Angelo Russell. They could end up going to Dennis Schroeder. So Schroeder's another player who played a good amount of minutes last game, just didn't really put up the fantasy production. I think there's a lot of opportunity for him. He started the last couple of games. So Dennis Schroeder at 7,500. And then if I had to take somebody from Denver, I would go with Christian Brown, who I think is just somebody who's going to be in the rotation. Yep. He's not the best fantasy producer in the world. He's more favorable looking on DraftKings than FanDuel, but Malakar did ask us FanDuel specifically. So one from each team: Schroeder from the Lakers, Christian Brown from the Denver Nuggets.
Love
the
it.
Next super chat that we have is another. Oh, here it is. This one is from D Fick. And then I'll go check Discord to see if we have any questions in there afterwards. D Fick wants to know, first, thanks for the content, boys. Thank you for the support, D Fick. What $1,000 punts have the best chance for a few points? If you had to go $1,000 on DraftKings, who are you picking, Eric?
Well, you know that that's where I kind of started talking about Tristan Thompson, similar to what we talked about with Cody Zeller the other day. Cody Zeller, I think, was far more secure to see the floor and did see the floor, as opposed to all the 1K players in tonight's game. I think if you had to click on one, you probably click on DeAndre Jordan, but I don't want to. He's getting 20%. He's getting all of that ownership at the moment. Troy Brown, Wenyen Gabriel's getting a little bit as well. Wenyen Gabriel is undersized. I thought that, maybe that was somebody that they could throw out there for a couple minutes as well. I doubt that that's very likely, but he's pulling 14.3% in the utility. I mean, you lump any of the 1K guys together, you could try to make some case. It's weird to think that Tristan Thompson 1K would be the right answer, so I'm not going to do that. DeAndre Jordan, probably.
I don't understand the DeAndre Jordan ownership, at all.
It's just something where, Jokic never gets in foul trouble, but if he were to get in foul trouble, he's probably the guy who runs into a couple of minutes here and there, maybe at the end of the beginning second quarter, end of first quarter type situation. He's just the de facto 1K guy. If you're that vehemently against it, I'm actually going to, because I was trying to pick who I wanted my 1K guy to be today. It's a lot less clear cut than what it was yesterday, but Tristan Thompson probably makes sense for me, just because maybe they just decide to throw the biggest body that they have on the bench out there.
How long has it been since DeAndre Jordan has stepped on the court?
He played Minnesota in the first playoff series, played 4 minutes and it was actually regular rotation. It was in game 4. Game 4.
This is, to me, 20% ownership for a guy who hasn't played in a month, and I do not expect to be in the rotation, is fairly insane to me.
Well, then who would you click on?
None of them. Don't play any of these. Don't play any of these Jimos.
But I'm saying that you fall into a zero. Like, we've seen that work out a number of times. Again, I know it's a very, very unlikely type outcome, but you do the build where you run into the one guy who gets 4 minutes perhaps, and you're passing every other person who does the 1K build. That's the utility of like thinking through this as an exercise.
So we did have a game that we saw towards the tail end of it last time. There was nobody who stepped on the court. I don't know. I like my real answer is don't play any of these 1K guys today. If you have to play one of them, I guess I'll say Zeke Naji, who I said the other day, but nobody really. I mean, to me, the 20% ownership is so wild to me on DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, yesterday I felt way better about this kind of a build just because I was pretty positive we were going to see minutes for Cody Zeller. He played 9 minutes. He had 3 rebounds in that first rotation, did nothing with his second, 2 minutes. And then they basically said, get off the floor. We're bringing back in Bam, immediately in that fourth quarter. Good decision by them.
Yeah. So let's, I'm just trying to walk through, is there any 1K player you actually have projected to be in the rotation today for either team?
No, nobody.
Yeah, me either.
I don't know how you would. I mean, both teams played a super tight rotation. That's what both of these teams did last time out. You think because the Lakers, they ended up making it a competitive game. I can't imagine that they're going to overhaul everything that they did. But again, I try to get in the habit of thinking through some of these things, like where could be that one piece of deviation where you get the 1K player right. Most of the time it's a blowout. And then you just have like Reggie Jackson come out on the floor and, it's going to end up being like a 5-1 build where it's all Nuggets or all Lakers on the other side of it. And you just see Reggie Jackson try to actually do things, or a Zeke Naji or something of that capacity. But I can't see any of them actually playing rotation minutes.
Yeah, that's where I'm at this as well. So my answer to that is don't play a 1K guy. If I had to, I'll say Zeke Naji, but that's with zero confidence. Ultimately, I think none of these guys really. And then just for the same kind of thought process to make sure that we're talking about both sites evenly, if we talk about it on FanDuel, if you want to go to a min price guide, this is a little easier to me. Jeff Green is 6,000 on FanDuel. I feel decent about playing Jeff Green at a 6K price point.
Yeah, you should pretty much remove every other 6K player from the pool and just have Jeff Green.
Yeah, totally cool with that. Now let's go into Discord and see, by the way, we just got the starting lineup for the Denver Nuggets. No surprise here. Murray, KCP, Porter Jr., Gordon, Jokic as expected. So let's see what we have in Discord. And if we have questions, we'll answer those. If not, then we are going to start looking at some of the top captains, top MVPs for the game. Sam Cassell Dance wants to know about DeAndre Jordan's ownership projection. Is it correct? I tend to think it is, and I'm going to message our data team right now. I would be fairly surprised if he's actually 20% owned, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong on this, but it seems weird to me.
I think it's just it feels like it's all getting clumped to one guy at the 1K range. I think that would be the sum of all the 1K guys together.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see what ends up
strange.
See what ends up coming of it. But let's talk about MVPs. Let's talk about captains.
Yep.
Starting with DK and the captain spot, the 1.5x multiplier. We currently have Nikola Jokic as the most popular, 24.9% owned in the captain spot for Nikola Jokic. Believe it or not, Eric, he was not optimal last game. The winning lineup, despite Nikola Jokic having one of the most insane fantasy performances of the year, the optimal lineup had Anthony Davis as the captain, which goes to show you how those salary savings could matter sometimes. For today, though, what are you going to do with Nikola Jokic? 24.9%. Is that too high? Is it too low? Or is it just right?
It feels like it's a little bit low. I feel like he might come in a little bit higher than that. As a result, he feels so secure. Like Anthony Davis still ended up being optimal. You didn't get completely ran over with Jokic captain. I think it's about appropriate. The salary still is at a spot where it's not egregiously high compared to that of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I think between the three, if you're building out one lineup, hard not to click Jokic and fill out the rest. But there's a case to be made for large field GPPs just trying to hit everything else, getting to two of the studs in every lineup and moving on with your day.
Yeah, Nikola Jokic, 24.9%. I know it wasn't optimal. It's funny. As well as he played last game, I do wonder if there's going to be people who are like, hey, maybe you just don't need the fantasy points because he scored as many as he could possibly score and didn't end up being optimal. So maybe that will drive people away from him a little bit. The second most popular captain is AD right now, followed by LeBron and then Jamal Murray. So if you are playing a lineup that doesn't have Jokic, who is the captain that you are the next most likely to play?
Yeah, don't we have to play some LeBron James just by default? He's going to be so distant away from Jokic and Anthony Davis, I think, when it comes to flip. I mean, we saw some serious recency bias yesterday. I played primarily FanDuel. If you looked at the Jimmy Butler and the Jason Tatum MVP ownership, it was skewed so much more than you could have possibly predicted towards Jason Tatum. I think we see both Anthony Davis and Nikola Jokic getting probably rightful ownership going that direction. But as a result, we're talking about LeBron James, who still had a pretty serviceable game himself, played 40 minutes, put up a double-double, nearly a triple-double, which would have, put him over the 60 fantasy point mark as well. Got to think they're trying to steal one. I mean, you got to win a game in Denver. That's just math. So LeBron James, feel like that's the guy that right now he's in my single entry lineup, and I think I'm going to be rolling with it.
Yep, I don't hate that. LeBron has come up a little bit in I think he was around 10% projected ownership a couple days ago. I don't remember exactly. It was somewhere right, slightly lower than what he is now. But like I said, right now, Jokic 1, AD 2, LeBron 3 in terms of captain ownership. We'll dive into some of the lower owned captains in a second. But first, your guys' questions in Discord. This one is from Clintwood 83. AD or LeBron in cash? That is AD for me.
Yeah, definitely AD.
And then Basti G, captain exposures and value plays for flex. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the captains right here. And for me, if I'm going to be contrarian at captain, my answer is the guy I talked about before at the top of the show. And I think the more people get upset about this, the more it makes me feel
D'Angelo Russell.
If you play D'Angelo Russell at the captain and don't have Rui in that lineup, you have such a different looking build than everybody else. And it's one that just has clear leverage off of what the field is doing. And there's an obvious ceiling in D'Angelo Russell as well. I know that there's this idea that he sucks, he's unplayable in the playoffs. But number one, the last GPP I won a couple of weeks ago had D'Angelo Russell in the lineup. So is that a little bit of bias on my end? Not exactly, but it goes to show there's an obvious upside there. We've seen a ceiling in D'Angelo Russell. Also, 2 games ago, he played 41 minutes 2 games ago. There's a clear ceiling in terms of playing time. He has an offensive game where he's capable of making shots. He's not consistent by any means, but the ceiling is what I'm looking for here. So I like him as a low-owned captain play. Do you have somebody at really low ownership at captain that you like getting to, or is there a different way you prefer to differentiate?
Yeah, Austin Reeves still makes sense. He has these spots and these different series. I mean, it's a 1-game sample, 42 minutes. He played fantastic in that fourth quarter. He's been just a true shooting darling all season long. He makes great decisions with the basketball. Just such a low turnover rate for somebody who's just seems to be getting the confidence of AD and LeBron to just play with the ball in his hands more and more and more. And then you look at the price, 11-1. You look at some of the other pieces around him. I mean, he is now the 5th highest, the 5th most expensive player in terms of salary. 5.4%. It falls off pretty steeply between those top 4 and then to Austin Reeves. So I think getting to some Austin Reeves in your life, I mean, he put up a 40 spot. He's now put up basically 40 his last 2 and continues to just take on more responsibility for this team. He's just hashtag good at basketball. I think Austin Reeves sees a lot of minutes again. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up being a piece of deviation where you get a Jokic Anthony Davis or a Jokic LeBron James, some capacity of 2 of those studs where you're playing those together and Austin Reeves goes for another 40. I think there's a lot of runouts similar to game 1 where Austin Reeves ends up being optimal.
And breaking news, different starting lineup for the Los Angeles Lakers. They have removed Dennis Schroeder from the starting lineup. Jared Vanderbilt back in the starting 5. So we have a starting unit for the Los Angeles Lakers of D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Jared Vanderbilt, and Anthony Davis. So I thought that Dennis Schroeder was somebody who's being a little bit overlooked by the field. I don't feel that way anymore. Dennis Schroeder, don't like him now that he isn't starting. But Eric, what do you make of Vanderbilt starting? His minutes have been fairly low in the playoffs, even when he's been in the starting unit. But for today, do we like him now?
Yeah, in the starting unit, we saw 11 minutes for him I got to make sure that I have the games correct for it. Games, where is it at? Game 4 and game 5. He started both of those 11 minutes in each. Dennis Schroeder got onto the floor very, very quickly. I think obviously they're going to bring in Schroeder when Bruce Brown comes in for that first rotation. They're probably going to just take a hot hand approach to a certain extent with him and D'Angelo Russell, but it definitely gives D'Angelo Russell that first crack. I think besides obviously trying to get to a little bit of Jared Vanderbilt where he wasn't that much of a priority or 0% of a priority in my last run of build, D'Angelo Russell also, this is a huge upgrade for him.
Yeah, this is a way different looking starting lineup than what I was expecting. I mean, I just thought they were going to go right back to the Dennis Schroeder starting lineup. Schroeder played really well as a starter 2 games ago before getting ejected. Although, last
that
game
was such absurd.
Yeah, it was
too
crazy. I had some good looking lineups with Dennis Schroeder, and
me too.
He was underowned, and then all of a sudden he was out of the game after playing. Yeah, probably the best game he played in the entire playoffs before he got ejected. But neither here nor there. He is not going to be starting. Something else that's kind of interesting, now that Vanderbilt is starting, does this have any kind of impact on Rui, who's expected to be massively popular?
You would think so, but I mean, Jared Vanderbilt played 10 minutes last time. He's now played 11 minutes in both starting spots. I'm not going to overreact and go crazy, but we had him at 11 minutes. I'm going to put him at 19. I think 19 makes the most sense. We saw early on in that series, he played 26, 20, 15, the first 3 games of the Golden State series. I don't want to project him for, I'm still going to get a ton of him. I'm probably going to get way more Jared Vanderbilt than I should, just putting him at 19 minutes, considering he's 2,600. He's a 0.94 fantasy point per minute producer as well. Maybe it ends up being somebody that we just need to talk about. Like, do we just lock him and move on? It feels like a lot of risk.
I wouldn't. So let me pull up Vanderbilt and his most recent starts.
But we both agree he's going to be underowned, right? Or maybe not. There's 26 minutes left before lock.
The problem is this. Here's what his minutes were his last couple of starts. Last couple of starts against the Warriors, he played 11 minutes and scored 5 fantasy points. 11 minutes, 8 fantasy points. He overall in the playoffs has made a bunch of starts, and he's played over 20 minutes like once in the last 10 games or something along those lines. So like, I think he's a good play in a sense of there are not very many cheap guys to get to, and he locks a lot of salary potential. It's Vanderbilt's much different looking for this slate than some of the other ones where he was starting at like 4K and it was actual classic slate where we had like 3-4 games to choose from.
Yep.
What is the least amount of fantasy points you could see Vanderbilt scoring and still being optimal? Because I think that is something that's a relevant talking point for people, because people might be like, Vanderbilt only plays 12 minutes or 11 minutes as a starter. But what is the least amount that you could see him scoring and still being in an optimal lineup? Because that might change people's perspective on him.
I'm going to try to do something to be able to figure something out close to it. I mean, there's paths for a lot of guys. I mean, he's the cheapest player that you're going to project for more than 12 minutes. I mean, Christian Brown we have for 13, I suppose. So guess it's not entirely true. I mean, it's basically Brown and Vanderbilt against each other when you're talking sub 3K. Yeah, I just put him at 19 minutes. What did we get an up? Yeah, there it is. 18.6 minutes. Look at that. I like our projections. I like our guys. I'm thinking 12. I could see him putting up 12 and being optimal.
I don't think that's unreasonable, especially in a scenario where, number one, like we said before, there aren't that many cheap guys to get to. And then if you just have this scenario where Jokic, AD, and LeBron all have big games, you need to save salary somewhere, right? If you need all 3 of these guys, you need to save salary. And how many players priced around Jared Vanderbilt are you going to expect a better fantasy outcome from? The answer to me is none of them.
0.
I'd rather play, maybe this is considered a hot take. Maybe it isn't. I'd rather play Vanderbilt than Rui right now.
I 100% agree with that.
especially because of what the ownership is, where we have
Yep.
Rui project. Maybe Rui's ownership comes down in the most recent run because of the news now that Vanderbilt starting gives us another value option. But if Rui is going to be north of 50% owned and Vanderbilt is going to be 30, 25, I'd rather go to Vanderbilt in that scenario.
Yeah. I will say also the presence of Jared Vanderbilt as I reran everything. I'm just getting to more of Jokic, Davis, James Murray. I'm probably going to be skipping a lot of this mid tier. If it burns me, it burns me. But like, it's so hard getting another cheap piece that now we know is starting, gets an opportunity to play upwards of 20-ish minutes. I think as a result, I'm just going to be playing primarily those four in the captain. I'm probably not going to be going any other route.
Okay. No issue with that. Like I said, like I like Russell as a contrarian captain play, but not somebody I think you necessarily have to. And we'll talk about the FanDuel.
Yeah, I'm going to get to a little bit of him. I definitely, I like your logic there. And I'm going to make a rule to not have D'Angelo Russell and see now it's a little bit confusing because I think you were dead on with that logic before, but now I think Russell and Schroeder have a little bit more correlation than they had before. Like a negative correlation, that being.
We definitely have a lot that's changed just from, this little starting lineup change from the Lakers. And then, once again, seeing people in the chat debating Vanderbilt. I agree with you. Like Vanderbilt, for everybody in the chat who's opposed to Vanderbilt, I agree that he was not a very good fantasy producer in the regular season and in the playoffs towards the tail end with the Lakers. But just going back to what Eric and I said before, this is a scenario. The guy could score 8, 9, 10 fantasy points and land in an optimal lineup. So think of it through that lens. And I think it becomes more palatable to play Jared Vanderbilt. You don't need a big game from him. You need big games from the stars. And then you just need Vanderbilt to be on the court for like 10, 12 minutes, which I think is fairly likely considering he's starting.
Yep.
We've got a super chat here from Malcolm Revamp. He wants to know, I'm late celebrating my birthday. Who are we playing? So let's do it this way.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, first of all, happy birthday to Malcolm Revamp. Happy birthday to Jordan Klein. Who are
Always.
the players who you're getting just the most exposure to across each site? Let's do our number one MVP / number one captain, and then say like our three favorite utility players. I think that's
so Jokic is now my highest owned captain. That changed with Jared Vanderbilt. You get a $2,600 piece. I am playing a little bit of Rui as well. I'm not sure that 3,600 and 2,600, I shouldn't have them in the same lineups. So I'm going to be okay playing them. And now Jokic is showing up a ton for me. LeBron is second. I'm playing a little bit of the game theory there, just in terms of like, I think Jokic and AD end up getting steamed up even beyond what we might be projecting here at the moment. We've got AD at 14.6%, LeBron 12.6%. It's not like people don't know LeBron James is LeBron James, but Jokic could end up crazy owned in the captain here at this point in time. I am getting to more than I had before, but now Jared Vanderbilt, I have 100% in utility.
Yep, I think Vanderbilt is a great utility play to get to. Favorite captain, it's Jokic for me. And by the way, the insertion of Vanderbilt into the starting lineup, it does make Jokic a little bit easier to get to. We just have another value option at our disposal that we didn't have 15 minutes ago. Yep. So Vanderbilt, one of my favorite utility plays for sure. You know what this kind of reminds me of? Remember it was you who was doing the show with me when we had the JaMychal Green night, right?
Yep. That was 100% lock button. That was the last time. Well, actually, no, because I got second, and then I won like a smaller GPP on Sunday. It could have been just a ridiculous day. If I can't even remember what I needed to have for the run out, but had all the Tatum and all the land and the captain. That worked out nicely. And then, you ended up getting all the Robert Williams. He worked out yesterday too for everybody. And then for me in the pro spot, it was him. I didn't have enough Marcus Smart, but I think this feels eerily similar. I think we're in a really good spot jamming Vanderbilt.
Yeah. So Vanderbilt, Jokic, and then AD is a secondary star. I prefer AD to LeBron. Anybody else you would add to your most roster DK plays?
Nope. I'm getting to an eternal amount of the studs now.
All right. And now let's go ahead and talk about the FanDuel side of things. It's really hard to say anybody other than Jokic is the MVP on FanDuel, especially we don't have to worry about the salary. AD, LeBron, not saying these guys can't be, but we're just talking about players we want to prioritize. Jokic MVP, right?
100%.
Okay. So Jokic at MVP. And then obviously, we just have different salaries, different considerations for FanDuel. So who is another player getting the most to win the multiplier spot? And then utility, who is somebody that you like as utility to save some salary with?
Yeah, I'm playing way more on DraftKings than I am FanDuel for tonight's slate. But as I'm looking through the lineups I did build out, I'm putting a couple in like the small dollar stuff. But I'm getting to quite a bit of Jamal Murray over there, 14.5. He's $1,000 less than LeBron. He is way cheaper than Jokic there as well. A lot of Jokic MVP, pretty much playing him as the only MVP that I have over there. And then Jamal Murray, just because of those salary savings, gets me to a different build. And yes, you're going to be sacrificing projection at the altar of ownership. Like that's just kind of what you have to do. But I think it's worth it to avoid some of the duplication. I think the number of Jokic plus Davis lineups and then Jokic plus LeBron James lineups are going to be so severe. I do think probably getting away from $6,500 Vanderbilt in those kind of builds where you go Jokic Davis probably makes sense just because so many people are going to be doing it now. And that makes it pretty intriguing to get to that mid tier. I like Jamal Murray quite a bit for FanDuel purposes. And then Austin Reeves, 12K, a little bit of an overpay there, especially now that we do have a cheapie where you can get to another stud, but definitely like Austin Reeves as a contrarian type play to get to in the pro.
Yeah, and then Vanderbilt is a utility play. Once again, over on FanDuel. Yeah. Vanderbilt's somebody who could rack up defensive stats. Plays pretty favorably on FanDuel. I don't think he's going to have much ownership.
But going Jokic, Davis, Vanderbilt in utility is going to be so chalky that I think I'd probably want to find really interesting deviations, either leaving a lot of salary on the table, or I would want to find a path to like complete unowned build, because you're going to run into so much duplication. Jokic, Davis in the first two spots with utility Vanderbilt.
So we have ownership projections updated for by the way, Vanderbilt's massively popular. Yep. So we had an ownership update and then we got another ownership update. So what we did is we have the ownership fixed on DeAndre Jordan. So now DeAndre Jordan's projected for 8% ownership. So that has been changed. As that being the result, now ownership is moved around, changed on a bunch of other guys as well. But yeah, Vanderbilt is way more popular than I was expecting it to be. We now have Vanderbilt projected for 63.4% ownership on DK. That's more than I thought was going to come in. FanDuel, we have him projected for 21% ownership. So a little bit more reasonable over on FanDuel. And part of that too is because of the min salary difference. But now that we have that update on Vanderbilt, 63.4%, does that change how you view him?
I mean, it's not great, Bob. It's not great. I will find it interesting. Rui, his ownership went up too, right? If I'm looking at that correctly, people are just getting to 3 studs now.
So here's what changed is we lowered the ownership projection on DeAndre Jordan.
Okay. That makes way more sense to me. God, that is a ton of ownership coming in on Jared Vanderbilt. It makes sense because, again, the timing of the news is as important as the news itself. It dropped 26 minutes before lock, and, well, that's a lot of time for people to be able to react to things. Most people playing DFS this time of year are pretty reactionary because they've been doing it the whole time. But I still, maybe he does end up that popular. That's a ton of ownership coming in on him. I think at 60%, you gotta have some kind of apprehension. That is a pretty eye-popping number.
So let's answer some more questions that we have coming in. We got a super chat here and then a bunch of questions in the Discord channel that want to make sure I answer. And by the way, Discord, one of the perks being a Stochastic Plus Platinum member. If you guys have not signed up for any of our packages yet, you can sign up using the link below to get 50% off any package you want to sign up for, whether it's the Platinum package, which gets you access to all the tools and data we have for every sport. If you just want access to the MLB lineup generator, the newest tool that we have over at Stochastic.com, anytime you're signing up for a package for the first time, make sure to use the link we have below because it is going to get you 50% off. Now, the super chat we have here is from RADM. He wants to know, can you guys guess Rui's projection in this new lineup? I can do better than guess it. I could tell you what it is we have him for. We have Rui.
Stop guessing, start winning.
Yeah, stop guessing, start winning. Join Stochastic today. Part of the old tagline. All right, let me pull up because now everything's updated. So let's see what we have for the most recent run now that everything is set. We have Rui Hachimura projected to play 23 minutes and to score 18.75 fantasy points on DraftKings, FanDuel, 18.26 fantasy points. The minutes are the same on both sites. Fantasy production, a little bit different because of the scoring on the different sites. But either way, you guys get the idea. We're projecting Rui for about 18.5 fantasy points, which I think is totally reasonable. Now, let's get back into Discord. And Red Spike wants to know, do we want more or less than 50% of Anthony Davis in tournaments today? That is more for me.
More.
More. Yeah, totally agreed. Red Spike, more than 50%. And then Jay says Walker or Dennis Schroeder. I prefer Dennis Schroeder to Lonnie Walker.
Same.
Next one. The real AD. How many minutes do we expect Lonnie Walker to play today?
I don't know, but look at Dennis Schroeder's ownership now. I just reran some stuff, and Dennis Schroeder is now sitting at 8.5%. I want to get to more than that.
I mean, that's a very low ownership number. I don't know.
My God. Just wanted to point that out because like Dennis Schroeder went from being in the starting lineup and was probably, appropriately owned there. Now he is just so low owned, and it could be very easy in the same way that you just advocated for D'Angelo Russell in so many different ways. And obviously he gets the first crack at it here. There are so many ways where Dennis Schroeder ends up at 4,800 being, I mean, there aren't that many low owned pieces of guys are absolutely playing basketball today. And Dennis Schroeder could still backdoor his way into 30 minutes.
Yeah, I definitely prefer Schroeder to Lonnie Walker. And then as for the question on minutes to Lonnie Walker, anywhere high teens is reasonable. We got him projected for 19, right in that high teens range. I think that's what we're getting out of Lonnie Walker. Mm-hmm. A little bit of wiggle room depending how well he's shooting. He shoots well, a couple extra minutes. He's bricking his shots, a couple less. Game flow also could matter. If the Lakers are winning late, they're probably going with defense. If they're down, probably a little more shooting on the court. Bossboro, favorite pro plays on FanDuel. Eric hit it pretty well the other day with Robert Williams. How about today?
Looking at primarily Austin Reeves as somebody to get way off the board with. Let me get to because I just got all my DK lineups done. Let me go over to FanDuel here and check. I think getting to one of those studs as well, where if you're going to go Jamal Murray in the star and getting to maybe like a LeBron there, hard to get Jokic, Murray, LeBron, and not have the identical build to everybody. But by switching to star and pro, you definitely have a path to getting a little bit different there. But Aaron Gordon getting the most ownership now there, him and Michael Porter Jr., I get it. But I think your boy D'Angelo Russell makes some sense there too, especially in Jokic, Anthony Davis builds. No, 10K D'Angelo Russell. I mean, he's going to be competing with Austin Reeves, Michael Porter Jr. Not in the pro spot, though, 12.4%. That's less than Reeves, Gordon, and Porter Jr.
Yeah. I mean, he's the fourth most popular pro on FanDuel, though.
But, I mean, that's when you think about what those builds look like and what they should look like with Jokic plus stud, then you go to whomever else. I'll take the fourth. The fourth highest owned D'Angelo Russell there, 12.4%. I'm more than happy to click on him before Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon now.
Yeah, let me look at the lineups I've built.
I'm surprised Aaron Gordon at 9,500 is showing up there. Just because when people are hand building over on FanDuel, you always see some arbitrary numbers where they click on the next highest owned person and they kind of disregard projection. Like that'll happen from time to time. So it's hard to really account for, but definitely something where we've been doing this long enough. You can tell when that pro spot might seem a little bit off. I think Aaron Gordon might end up a little bit lower owned in that pro spot than we're thinking.
If I want to go crazy off the board,
I don't want KCP. I know that would be somebody that would make sense. I think Jamal Murray, again, you're talking about one of those studs. Those builds are going to look weird. I don't know who you end up having in the star because Jamal Murray's 14.5. How does he even get up to 10% there? I'm a little surprised by that.
I didn't get anywhere near that in the run that I did.
I got 2. I just looked at it in my 150.
It's just hard to pay. It's just hard to pay up for him and the other stars.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm surprised that he's even that high on there. I don't think he should be 10%. I would want less than that.
The one I got to the most was Aaron Gordon, but he's also the most popular.
I think I would roll with Aaron Gordon. Just when I'm thinking about it out loud, 9,500. That's cheaper than MPJ, Reeves, Russell, everybody pulling ownership that's pulling ownership around him. Might be surprising that he ends up a little bit lower than that.
He's the one I have the most of, so I'm going to say Aaron Gordon. I wanted to give a more contrarian answer, but it's hard because to be honest, I'm looking at I'm not that much different in the field than most of these pro ownerships.
Yeah, I think the utility is where you really get off the board with this. I think getting to more Jeff Green now, where he's 6K and trying to get to a build where maybe he's 6K and you leave 500 on the table so that he's directly competing with Christian Brown, directly competing with Jared Vanderbilt. If he ends up being the guy from that grouping, it wouldn't shock me.
Luke Stone has left us a super chat. He wants to know, is Vanderbilt at captain and then 4 studs viable tonight? It is viable, and based on our ownership projections, it is something that not a lot of people are doing. Jared Vanderbilt is projected for a lot of ownership, but only 3.7% of it at the captain spot. Are you willing to take shots on Vanderbilt in the 1.5x spot?
So I was building that out by hand like maybe 10 minutes ago, just to revisit it. My biggest issue with it is that you're going to run into the situation where it's all 4 studs plus a 1K player, or everybody's going to click on the combination of Rui Hachimura and then D'Angelo Russell or Aaron Gordon. It does have a pretty clear way of building itself out. And so even though he's low owned in the captain spot, you got to think about what all those lineups look like. They're going to look almost identical. So you have to be very sharp about what your other 2 pieces are to go with Jokic, Davis, James, because, well, everybody else is going to be doing that too.
So if you're playing, so I think the point you made there is very valid, right? Because Vanderbilt is projected for very low ownership in captain, but the people who are going to play Vanderbilt at captain are almost all going to be playing about the same lineup. So let's see. I just want to plug this in. If we go Vanderbilt at captain and then plug in the other studs around him.
Then you're talking about that 1K player that we've been trying to nail the whole time. It's like, that's where the 1K player actually comes and matters if you go Jokic, Davis, James, Murray, because you got 1,300.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually would not do this. I
wouldn't either. And so I think it forces you into a Rui plus Aaron Gordon or a Rui plus D'Angelo Russell. I would probably find a way to avoid that. I would probably get to either Bruce Brown or KCP or find some way to leave salary on the table still with Vanderbilt up there, just because otherwise I think that Jokic, Davis, James lineup is going to be duped a lot. So
here's the question then. If you're going Vanderbilt and then you're trying to get stars, which star are you leaving off? If you're going Vanderbilt, AD, LeBron, Jokic, Murray, one of those studs has to go. Which one are you most apt to leave off?
Most apt to leave off Murray. Just take the three guys that are projecting for 50 plus, and in Jokic's case, infinity. So I think you got to just take those 3 guys. And then obviously maybe that is the path of getting different. It's just getting to Jamal Murray instead of one of those studs. It wouldn't be that unrealistic to think that you run into 42 from LeBron, 40 from Michael Porter Jr., and that works out for you, something of that nature. So I'm just saying this to play a little bit of devil's advocate, because yes, Vanderbilt is low owned in the captain spot, but it always goes a little bit further than that. You can't just jam in the 3 studs and expect nobody else is going to be doing it.
Let's answer some of the rest of the questions we have in Discord, and that's going to bring us to lock. This went very quick. We've only got a few minutes left to go here. If you guys have not done yet, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and actually, there are no questions in Discord, so if you guys have those, throw them out at us. I want to ask you one final question to bring us home here, Eric, that we haven't really talked about yet, which is the mid-range. Who is your favorite play in the mid-range? We're going to say that encapsulates 7,400 to 6,400. So we're talking about KCP, Bruce Brown, D'Angelo Russell, Aaron Gordon, Austin Reeves, Michael Porter Jr. Of those guys, who is your favorite?
It's hard for it not to be Aaron Gordon, like sitting right there, or I guess further down. I really like this Dennis Schroeder play, even a little bit cheaper than everything you just listed off, just because of the ownership. That's more purely ownership driven. Out of everybody, though, it's weird to me KCP is only at 15% and everybody else is like 9, 17. Like KCP is very clearly going to see the most run out of everybody in that range. Like there's nobody else that's going to see as much run as him. And he's obviously been knocking down shots enough and doing enough other things that he's been just a different kind of a fantasy dude the last couple. I think just based on the ownership we have here, I'd say it's KCP.
By the way, just want to answer. Somebody in chat said, you must know, asked, why are they taking so long with who is starting? They're not. We have the starting lineups, and we've actually been discussing the Vanderbilt and the Lakers starting lineup for a good amount here. But we have the starting line. The Denver Nuggets are running their normal starting lineup, and then the Lakers starters, it is Russell, Reeves, James, Vanderbilt, Anthony Davis. That's why we're talking about Vanderbilt so much, is because he's starting. And then just so I have it out here and you guys know, the Denver Nuggets starting line, zero surprises here, but just to make sure that we make sure all of the information is in your hands. Murray, KCP, Porter Jr., Gordon, Jokic, the starting five for Denver. So the starting lineup change for the Lakers, it is Vanderbilt in place of Dennis Schroeder, who's starting the last couple of games. Now, who is the player you're going to most be rooting against tonight, Eric? The player you're underweight to, you're like, fuck this guy. I don't want him to be doing well today.
I am going to go with, God, it's turning into this Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., like a lot of these Denver ancillary pieces in the starting five. Even KCP, I mean, I talked about him being my favorite in the mid-range, but because of the ownership coming in on Dennis Schroeder, and it could end up being even lower, wouldn't shock me at all. I mean, I got to kind of try to find ways to get different with some of these identical builds, playing all the Vanderbilt, playing a lot of Jokic, LeBron, AD in the captain spot. I think getting to, Rui, I'm about neutral on here at this point in time. I'm going to be cheering for Dennis Schroeder. I'm going to go with Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon.
Yeah. And for me, my favorite mid-range, I'm going to go back with D'Angelo Russell. It's probably not, see here, I'm really setting myself up for failure because it's almost certainly not going to work, but it's the upside when it does work. But D'Angelo Russell being my favorite. Of all the players on the slate, the one I'm rooting against the most, yeah, probably Rui. It's going to be Rui for me, especially now that Vanderbilt is an option. So
how much did you end up with?
For who?
Rui.
For Rui, I have him in 26.7% of lineups.
Okay, yeah, I've got about 40. So I said neutral. I'm actually under the field as well, but I'm not like vehemently against him the way that you're less than half the field. You're pretty vehemently against him.
Any final thoughts for you before we head into lock here?
No, that's got to be the fastest hour showdown show we've ever done. It's always nice when you get a lineup configuration that's different, gives you some talking points. There's going to be unpredictable things, but that's part of what the tools help you do here at Stokastic as well. And we're using ownership and we're trying to find leverage. We're talking through different things. I think Greg made some fantastic points today too. Hopefully they lead to some success for us.
And that is going to do it for us. Don't forget, guys, if you haven't signed up at BetMGM, use that link that we have below because it is going to get you 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. And your first bet, if it loses, up to $1,000 in bonus bets over at BetMGM. So take advantage of that. And of course, if you're playing DFS, you want to take advantage. It is the cheapest way to get access to all the tools and data that we have over at Stokastic.com. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you didn't do yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, enjoy the game tonight. Good luck. See you back here tomorrow.